Hey friends, thanks for tuning in. Not long ago, I ate a meal at a potluck that I haven't been able to stop thinking about. It's a noodle dish that my friend Sophie made, and since it's a super inexpensive meal, I thought it would be perfect to make on my channel. And last weekend, I was craving some noodles, so I decided to go ahead and make this. It has some basic ingredients like spaghetti noodles, celery, onions, and garlic, and then I picked up this vegan oyster flavored sauce. Obviously, you can use regular oyster sauce if that's what you like, but that is my new ingredient that I'm using for this meal is the vegan oyster sauce. I actually got that just for this dish. I got mine for about $3 at H Mart. They had some that were a little cheaper, but I noticed that Walmart has them as well, and I even looked at some of the other stores around here and they had it also, although it was a little bit more expensive. So it is a common ingredient in the stores. And since we're only going to be using between 1 and 2 tablespoons per serving, it's only going to add about 23 cents to the meal. So all in all, this is a super cheap and inexpensive meal. When Sophie served her noodles at the potluck, it didn't have any protein in it, but I did decide to add some protein because I'm going to make a meal for my younger son, and then I'm also going to add a protein for me later on in the video, which I'm sure you know what that's going to be, but I am using some scissors just to cut some thin slices of some chicken breast. This is a great recipe if you want to make your protein last because it doesn't require much chicken. You can also use chicken thighs in this, but my family tends to prefer chicken breast, and you can use pork also, or some kind of beef if you have it. The vegan oyster sauce that I use is seasoned with shiitake mushrooms, soy sauce, and sugar. The regular oyster sauce also does have a little sugar in it, but I know Sophie said that she also adds a little soy sauce and sweetener to hers. So I think you just want to play around with this recipe a bit, depending on the type of sauce that you end up purchasing and the level of sweetness, obviously, that you want it to be. And I do need to order a new battery for my little food scale because I never know quite how much spaghetti to put in unless I weigh it out. But this spaghetti that I got from Trader Joe's, it looks a little funky. Kind of like that one I got from Walmart that one time where it was breaking all apart. But these are the only spaghetti noodles I have, so I'm just going to have to make do with them. Also, I wanted to ask you guys if you remember when I told you that I got the 410s schedule at work. Well, unfortunately, they took that schedule away from me right before it was about to start. Me, along with about 200 people, got our schedules changed back. I think I didn't have the seniority in order to get that schedule, so I'm back to having one flex day off every other week, which basically means I work 9-hour days, but yet I get one day off every 2 weeks, which is still not bad. It's just I was really looking forward to the 410s and how much time that would give me for my channel. So anyway, here I'm just frying up the chicken before I start making the rest of the meal. I'm going to fry this up until it's just tender, and then I'm going to set it aside and throw it in to my son's later on. I'm not adding any seasoning to this because the oyster sauce is going to give this lots of flavor. I'm just cooking this until it's tender. And this is actually perfect. And then I'm just going to cut these into a little bit smaller bite-sized pieces. And my spaghetti noodles are done. They are a little bit al dente because I am going to finish cooking them in the pan. This is a really, really large bowl. However, I do feel like I could pretty much eat this by myself. But that's okay. I'll just split this, and hopefully with the meat and vegetables it'll be enough. And then I cut up some garlic. I've got the oyster sauce and some thin sliced white onions, but yellow onions will work as well. And then I've got the celery. So I'm just going to flash fry these really quickly, and then I'll assemble everything. And I also have this soy sauce on the side just in case I need to add a little to the dish. And then I'm just using a regular oil here. I'm not using sesame oil because these are not sesame noodles, which I do make a lot of, but this is not that dish. So I'm just using a regular oil, and you may be wondering what this dish is. My friend just called them noodles, but it looks a lot like chow mein. Actually, let me clarify that. It depends on what area of the country you live in, if you live on the East Coast or if you live on the West Coast. or what country you live in. Chow mein literally means fried noodles, but if you're on the east coast of the US, it means super crispy noodles, usually served with a thick brown gravy, which, by the way, I've added to my bucket list for fall. And if you're on the west coast like I am, the noodles in the dish are just lightly fried and end up being soft. And I think in Australia, chow mein conjures up a completely different image. So for the sake of my international viewers, I think we'll just call this noodles. Anyway, once my onions and celery have cooked for a little bit, then I'll add in the garlic. Just want to make sure I don't burn that. So I do love noodles, but I guess I never really thought about making these type of noodles for a potluck dish before, but she made them for a work potluck, and there were people of all different backgrounds, and it was definitely one of the most popular dishes at the potluck. And since you can serve it at room temperature, how easy is that? Anyway, I tasted this and I realized it needed just a touch more of the oyster sauce. This is so good. I cooked mine first and then I cooked my son's, and the only thing I did different when I made my son's is I added a little bit of garlic powder in addition to the garlic pieces that I had in there, and I do have to say it did make a difference. I simply forgot to add that to mine, but I do like to layer my garlic because if you're just adding the garlic, it really doesn't get into each bite. So I do think that that's that one little difference that makes a dish really spectacular. If you're choosing to use chicken, I like that you can go to the meat counter and purchase one chicken breast and you can make a huge pot of this. Or you can just serve it without any protein at all. You can also add in cabbage to this, which I'm definitely going to try next time. You could add in some slivers of carrots. You could add in some bean sprouts. I'm actually going to be playing around with this recipe quite a bit. And if you watched last week's video, then you know how I made my tofu, and it was so good that I decided to use the same method to make it again. So I just rolled it in some cornstarch and put it in my air fryer, and then I used this sweet and sour sauce that I spotted last weekend in the condiment drawer to give some great flavor to my little cubes. And then I just added it in with the chow mein. And then for a garnish, I'm going to add some chili garlic sauce along with some black sesame seeds. If you watch my channel, you know I frequently use black sesame seeds to garnish my food. And this is such a good meal. And it's so simple. And I can honestly say I don't think I've ever had a better Chinese takeout meal. This is just delicious. I hope you guys like this video. I am sorry that it is so short, but I am definitely short on time this week. I do think you'll like the video I'm working on for next week. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next week.
Morning has broken.